Welcome everyone to another episode of the Low Code Campfire. This is episode number 67 for September 9, 2022. Today is an Open Lines Friday Campfire. That means we get to talk about whatever you want to talk about. This is an event we hold every week, Fridays this time, and it's just a community gathering, all skill levels welcome event where we could talk about what's going on generally in low code, or maybe what you're experiencing in particular. These are all recorded on YouTube, on our YouTube channel, youtube.com/plantainapp, and we encourage you to go there and subscribe. You can use that QR code, or most of the mailings that we send you get you onto that list. We run a pretty straightforward agenda. We talk about, we say hi. First of all, this is a meeting format, so we get to say hi and just chat. But then we'll do things like first call, what exactly you might be dealing with, anything that you want to put to the front of the line. We will look at some point at Campfire website and see what contributions have been made. We'll talk about feature requests. Anything that got submitted in advance, which I don't have any on the list today. And then after an hour or so, we'll turn off the recording, go into afterglow segments. So if you wanted to talk about anything that wasn't suitable for being recorded forever, that's a good spot to do that. And otherwise, we can just check and make sure everyone's healthy and not doing crazy things. We have very few guidelines, but among them, mute if you've got noise going on in the background. Be nice. You can submit questions and topics in advance, and I'll try and get them on the agenda. And with that, good morning, everyone.
Good morning.
Good morning.
Hi, everyone.
Good morning, everyone.
Good morning.
I'll apologize already to our international guests. It's not good morning everywhere, but it's a hard habit to break. So first call, what's on your mind? Anybody facing a particular challenge that you want to use this brain trust to think about?
I have a question for everybody. Has anybody used any charting modules in combination with PlantainApp to do things like line graphs, bar graphs, and so on? And if so, do you have any recommendations?
Yes. We did. There's actually some really great YouTubes, and let's see if we can even find them for you, Matt. This is good. Just a reminder on how to search our YouTube channel if you haven't done it. If you go to youtube.com/plantainapp, in this search bar here, you can type things. The searches across all our videos, and so we have several. Add a dashboard. This one here is probably a pretty good one. But let's take a look at that one. I'll share that link here.
Just wanted to.
Yeah, I gotta look at the ads. So let me get the link for that and put it on the chat. But I think if we get into this, unfortunately, no index on this one. But we've done several, and I'm going to back up because and try again on my search here, because there was like chart.js was a topic. So that same part one, but there's been several, Matt, and the answer is chart.js, and we've covered we've covered it. Let's see, not this one. Mermaid is not the one I wanted. Let's go back to part one here. Patrick, yeah, you did this one, trying to see.
I think that it might actually be maybe in the second one, possibly.
There we go. So for example, we were taking JSON data and mapping it against, so it was months versus occurrences or whatever, this XY. So we covered a line graph. Trying to see if they've got anything else covered in here. I think we covered different types, and there's another variation of that. And oh, there we go. Once we had that, we flipped it to a bar graph, that same data bar graph. So this one would be a real good one. It shows you exactly how to do it.
Thank you. I appreciate it.
Absolutely. Radu did some earlier too, and so there's some earlier ones beyond that if you get into searching. But try this part 2, Local Cafe 88. And it really was easier than it had any right. If you have the data and you throw it against this chart.js. Yes, thank you for posting that, Patrick. It just comes out. You set a few parameters, you start tinkering with it, and you have a graph. I mean, you'll see it in that one. We do it in 15-20 minutes, no big deal. It's amazing what's available. So let us know how that turns out.
Matthew, Jerry here. I have an extensive amount of effort put into interfacing with Google and their charts and graphs with great success. It's pretty simple, and I'm always looking for a better way too, so I'm going to follow this. But the bar charts, pie charts, line charts is very similar to how I programmed the maps. I basically generate a string of some sort of data that I queried and build it into the proper format into a token, and then I passed it into the Google Charts JavaScript programs in an action form, and I'm having great success with that. I'd be more than happy to sit with you one day and show you what I've done, or maybe even do a video for one of our presentations. But it's very doable and not really complex at all, other than just Google can be kind of weird. But once you get past that hurdle, it's really not bad at all. Very, very similar to what we did in Google Maps.
Excellent. Thank you.
I just posted a YouTube link where Radu talks about doing Google Charts as well. And I think in the same episode, he talked about chart.js as well.
Thanks, Patrick.
Yep.
I don't know if it was chart.js or some other one, but there was for some reason I'm having this memory.
I was looking at tools, some of the criteria that I was really looking.
Whoops.
My bad.
Sorry. I'm having this vision of a cow on the screen. Does anyone else remember that?
Yeah.
I think there was a chart that showed the various pieces, the various cuts of meat, and for some reason that we were that was one of the options that was available.
That might be the one, the mermaid one, because I think he said that he had and that was for a specific client that actually was creating cuts of meat, and that was what that was for. And I believe that might have been when he did the mermaid one.
Yeah. There's yeah.
So yeah, I mean, obviously the point is we have several episodes out there that talk about various ways of charting.
Great. What else? And I start that, and then I say, Jerry, I put together was working on a personal project and loaded up your map stuff in it with the clusterer, and it just worked, right? Once you get past the Google stuff, once you get the right authentication token from them, it just works, and it's very nice. So another thank you for that contribution.
My pleasure. Again, it just, it's more Google's engine than mine, but just like you said, as with any of these interfaces, just getting over that first hurdle can be the hardest part, and then the rest pretty much falls into place. But I'm glad it's working for you.
Yep, absolutely. All right, what else?
I have a question, a debugging question, in that I have some dynamic lists being built, and sometimes I'm not getting the data back in them that I expect, as in the columns. And does anybody have a technique for enumerating all the columns in a list that come back to see what's in a particular entity without guessing?
Yep.
This is what I think should be there, but I found out that sometimes I'm not right.
There is a contribution here in Campfire that does that. I think I did that. This one right here, Jim. Ever wonder what's inside a list? You convert the list to JSON and then output it. So, for example, this button here loads a thing called users entity. It loads a list and then sends that list out to JSON so you can see exactly what's inside it. So
Perfect.
I would take a look at this one.
Yeah, that'll give me what I need, because yeah, that way I don't have to guess on what's in there coming from another system.
Yeah, that was exactly my problem too. You work on a list, and especially there's some function out for me. The reason that I mean, it's one thing if you select data, like you do a SQL query and you get data in your list. It's very easy to take that SQL query and put it into something else like the console and see exactly what's in there. But there's some things like where you manipulate the list, you can add fields or remove entities, or there's a number of manipulations that you can do. So now trying to understand what it looks like in that after manipulations, it's this kind of thing is very useful. Also, sometimes you just need JSON output, right? You're going to pass that on to something else. So you've done something with your, you've gotten your list, you maybe manipulated it, and then you're going to pass it back. And this create JSON object gives you something that you can pass back and reconstitute the list at a later time, or maybe you're doing an API output or something like some form of output that's going to get consumed. So anyway, useful tool to create JSON object. Good one.
Thank you.
Sure. Someone else. All right, I'm going to move on. For anybody who's participating in the beta test, any thoughts about how it's going and what you're finding?
Hi, this is Mark. I'll be doing it, but I haven't been able to get in there just yet. So sorry, I didn't want you to have silence, but I'll be getting in there soon.
Well, I appreciate your sympathy for the host. I've seen a couple of things that were submitted on the beta test site that I know are already in front of developers for resolution. There is kind of this direct or at least express pipeline between submitting a bug in the beta test and getting it right in front of developers for resolution. So for those who are participating, thank you. It helps make it better for everyone. So to fill the silence just a little bit, there's a thing going on support, and just mentioning it in turn. This really doesn't impact too much the Plantain app people, but for people who are using our older tools, and remember we went through a product retreat about that ended back in March of this year, where most of the products that we sell, we no longer sell independently. They're all just part of Plantain app. But for people who are still using those older tools, there is some incompatibility with the newer versions of the things that we continue to sell. So for example, if you have a pre-version 5.19 action grid on your system and you try to install action form in the most current version 5.21 or about to be 5.22, it's incompatible and you won't get the result that you want. So people who are running our old products are often going to be stopped from upgrading past version 5.19, and this was kind of an expected result of having done a retreat or a discontinuation. So, but we're seeing a couple of those kinds of things showing up on if you're following the community forum or submitted tickets. This is some of what we're facing right now. Some people are encountering this. And anyway, simple answer is get Plantain app or stop upgrading.
I think it might be noted for our viewers, Dale, that the silence is not lack of interest. The silence is lack of problems. We've got Plantain app along really good. And, when you have the meeting of the minds that are on this particular Zoom at the moment, if we can't find a whole lot to talk about, that's a very high positive for me, because we've seen days when there's lots to talk about. And so I'm not having any issues at all. I mean, not with Plantain app per se, just, it's just a continuous fight to interface with some other entities and companies and whatnot. We work through those as we can, but I'm having great success at the moment.
Well, good. And yes, we sometimes talk about problems. We also sometimes talk about how to approach particular, how to structure a solution, and that's a lot of different things we hit here. So whatever you're interested in.
Sometimes I use the word as it's something being problematic, when really it's not so much a problem, it's a challenge. And then together we figure out how to resolve that challenge via Plantain app. And I think we're doing really well, really well.
So in our shared website, and by the way, the campfire.plantain.com website, if anybody on this call is not a member of this and would like to be, please put your email privately to me on the chat and I'll make sure that you get added. But this is a site where we put in clips of things that, small bits of code or suggestions or really anything. It's a little bit of a recipe that somebody else might follow and not have to develop themselves if they have the same problem. So with that, last week I talked about this one and it came up in a support conversation that there's this, this is a contribution from Mark. By default, the pager showed in this square underneath the cards in his layout. This is a listing, and he wanted it in a different place and found a simple technique to move it. So instead of it being over here, it's being here. And Jim had a similar thing that where he was trying to rearrange things, and I suspect, we didn't prove it out, but I suspect that the same technique could move some other things on the design, and so I pointed him to this way. So if nothing else, I just was bringing this up again as a kind of a thank you and an idea. It's a good idea starter, a good concept to bring to others, and the stuff does get reused, so thanks for the contribution. 2, I see that we have one new one. Ben asked us last week if we thought the amazing tool that he developed, if we thought it would be worthwhile, and everyone said yes, so I see he's put it in here, and or maybe he is in the process of putting it in here.
So really quick, I just want to say you're seeing that error message in the grid because you're an administrator of the website. Everyone else is not going to see that right now, because what I noticed was you guys made a structure change in your databases in version 1.2.2. So there's a table that no longer exists. So I'm in the process of editing this so that it detects whether you're using 1.2.2 and above. It works for everyone on 1.2.1 below, but if you're on 1.2.2, which is what Campfire was upgraded to, it's crashing on that SQL code. So I'm fixing that now. So right now it should work for anyone to install it and use it. I believe. If it doesn't, please let me know. Like I said, it's the 1.2.2 version right now that it's not going to function on. So I can't show a sample right now.
Well, thanks for doing that, and I'm sorry. You know, internally we take the position that we want to install our new software on our sites and find problems before they're inflicted on you. So I upgraded this site yesterday. I didn't realize that this was out here. I checked some other things that were still working just fine, but we internally change the structure of things from time to time, and a tool like yours that's searching through that structure reliant on it, I'm not surprised that we caused you some issues, so sorry about that.
No problem. Just for anyone that uses any of my stuff, you'll notice that usually on the top right corner, I always put or somewhere on the right, I put a version. So if you ever check back and you see that the version is higher than the one that's displayed on yours, that means some sort of update went through. And I have a note there that you'll see. It says it's only for DNNSharp and Planting up to version 1.2.1 right now.
Cool. Well, so we'll continue to look forward to that one, but and yeah, anybody still on pre-122 could get the value out of that. So, and if you're curious, Ben demonstrated what that looked like last week. So that's in last week's low code Campfire episode. Cool. So yeah, the purpose of joining then Campfire would be, yes, thank you, Ben, that you would get access to be able to open up these contributions, download them, see how they work internally. And so the idea just is you can, it's one thing to see them in operation, but getting in behind the scenes and seeing how it's querying, how it does what it does. For a low-code engineer, that's a map to a path, right? How to get from point A to point B. So use it, contribute to it. We appreciate it.
So Dale, related to that page of contributions, I'm just gonna give a little bit of forecasting. Soon I'm going to be able to put some things in there. And I want to tell you about it now. By saying it publicly, maybe that'll push it over the finish line a little faster. But so you know that DNN folks really want us to move forward and get rid of Telerik out of our sites. And you know, the biggest thing that's holding me back from doing that most times is the file manager. It's the site assets module. And so to make that possible, I've put together this week a combination of a couple action grids, which essentially function as a file manager. Folders on the left, files on the right, that kind of thing. And it looks good. It looks and works really well. The part that it's missing really is bulk file actions, you know, like select a number of files and download all of them at one time, that kind of thing, or move a bunch of them at one time. So right now it does things individually, one file at a time, one folder at a time. So it's very functional. It's as functional as the file manager is, but I want to upgrade it. So when I get that done, I'll be putting that up here as a contribution. I think having that now enables me to get rid of Telerik, and I think it would work the same way for anybody else who installed it. I would quickly add that the last time I mentioned this, Bogdan mentioned that they were thinking about baking that into Plant and App and have a file manager. And so this might be a temporary solution after sometime in the future. A newer, better thing gets released in the product. That would be great. Also want to mention that DNN release candidate, I think it's 9.11 is out, and it supposedly has a new file manager in it. So I only mentioned that maybe that'll help. So if you guys are going in that direction, maybe that will get you there faster. But so related to the file manager, in the forum here on Plant and App, I posted a question saying, hey, if I wanted to drag and drop something from one listing to another, how would I approach that? And I got a couple of responses, and I wound up actually making that work. And that is something else that I will put in the contribution when I get that fully baked. But it does work. I can drag a file from a listing on the right and drag it over to a listing on the left and drop it, and the file goes there just like it should. So that I want to share that I wound up making that with HTML5 features, not with the Plant and App features, although I know that some of that is there. I didn't understand it all, but I got it to work doing it, shall we say, my own way. So when that is ready to be polished, I'll put that up there as well.
So all that sounds very useful, good information, Mark. I know internally there was a discussion in the last few days about the next version of DNN. I didn't know the number, but 911, you said, that when we start developing our 1.23, the plan would be for that to be against the 9.11 DNN, so that we can start our internal baking against that, testing against that, and make sure that there aren't any issues. And then at some point, depending on what we find, that'll be then become our recommended version and available for one-click upgrade and all that stuff. But yep, that's a work in progress. I hadn't heard about the file manager in there, so that'll be cool. And yeah, the tools that you mentioned, I mean, I think there's probably a couple of reasons that, I mean, it's not only replacing Telerik, but I suspect you could use the techniques you're developing to provide limited guided file management, right? So you could limit it to particular paths or whatever rules that you want to enforce that are more I don't know, subjective or logical or whatever you want to say, versus just giving access to the file system. So I think there's going to be good use cases for it, even if DNN has a new one. Good. Um, all right. On our community site, we have a spot for feature requests. I didn't know if anything had been put out here recently. Oh, I will tell you, we did a little bit of work. Our team has done some work on feature requests. This is Drago did some work. And so now there's the ability to subscribe. We got a feature request for feature requests. Right? That was you, Mark, right?
Yeah, that was me. Thanks, guys. I will be using that.
So you can subscribe overall. If you do that here, that means that every time anybody else posts a feature request, you'll get a notification by email. And then within any particular feature request, and I haven't even looked at this yet, but we have a follow button, so the ability to follow everything. See, I gotta sign up for this now, so let's see how it works. You click the button and it shows that you are now, you can unsubscribe, but we're subscribed to every feature request. And then if you want to follow a particular one, you get and see what other comments are made by, you can click on individual ones to see all the responses. So you'll get on that first one, you'll get a notification about new entries. And then on this one, you'll get notification about new responses. So lots of following. I think the intention was that we follow the same functionality that we see within the community portal. This was, and so we have this ability to overall subscribe and then subscribe to an individual item. But this was there in a little bit different format previously. I think if you replied to a thread, you automatically got subscribed to it. I think that was the original design. We wanted to make it look a little bit more like a forum and work the same way, same kind of features. So that's built in. Okay, so that's housekeeping. So you want to follow what other people are asking for, and part of the reasoning then on that is that if that's something that would help you too, we have a voting system. So when you click into something, you have the ability to give it a thumbs up. And if you do, then the count goes up. And when we're looking for things to do, we look at these feature requests and look at the ones that have the most amount of interest and consider whether those are things that we can do. All right. So that's new features. So now what do we got here? New feature requests. A few things within the last week or so. Anybody want to advocate for, lobby for votes on any of these?
Well, I'm not shy. That one at the top there, change field type from text to large text. I kind of thought this was low-hanging fruit about being able to change a field type in an entity. This one I think is not very hard, to accomplish. And so I want to put it out there that, some field type changes would be very helpful. I guess it comes down to I'm not perfect when I choose my original field type on my original design, and I sometimes have to modify. So, yeah.
Yep.
Yeah.
It does feel like low-hanging fruit. I think there's some when you change a field type, it ends up. I mean, there certainly can be validation errors, like if you're going from a text field to a numeric, that kind of thing. It poses some challenge. But I will mention that there is a hack around this in case you're anxious for this particular thing in advance of us taking it on as a true feature. do you need the hack or?
I think maybe I don't. But maybe you might mention it for anybody else. I mean, I'll tell you what I did. I just went into SQL Server and just changed the field type there.
Yeah. There's a, so we recently added the ability to export and import entities. If you export an entity, it produces a JSON output. If you look at that JSON and figure out what the field type is for, in your case, you want to change text to large text. If you change that and then re-import it, the underlying logic will try to convert the field type for you. And so it will make the change and also make the change to the relevant
Corresponding forms and grids.
Yeah, the metadata so that the
Mhm.
form is modified and things like that. The caveat I'll throw on there is this is like I say, it's an unofficial, it's a hack, and in my testing it worked just fine. You should always have a backup before you try something like this. And again, in the testing, it also found like if you had a data error that was underlying it, it seems to be wrapped in a commit block so that it's all or nothing. And so if it fails gracefully. So it appears to be working. And if somebody needed to change a type here, I would give this a try under controlled circumstances. But in the meantime, I think the request to do this gracefully and easily, it makes sense. And see, you've already got another vote.
Yeah, and honestly, that subscribe feature, I wanted that so that I could give up votes to other things coming in. Honestly, so good.
Absolutely. Yep. Ben, do you mean to have your hand raised?
Yeah, I just didn't want to interrupt. If you wanted to show that piece in Campfire, I've got it. So at least in your case, you can show the sample. It's still not available for everyone to view because it's not 100%. But if you wanted to just really show the sample of how it functions, visibility of it, you can do that now. I just fixed part of it that was causing that error.
This code search, back to code search, okay?
Right now, the only thing that's working well is the my tokens. The other ones are still a little iffy because of the code changes. But if you go to tech, is a easy one to show, and then go to get DBOQ, and then just do a search. So just a quick view of how this functions and what it does. It basically gives you the name and location of the page on the left-hand side. On the right-hand side, it's going to give you more detailed information of where to find that particular piece of code in that module. The module on the right-hand side, that link, if you click on that, it'll open up the module in edit mode for you. So you don't have to go to the page, find the module, edit it, things like that. Otherwise, if you just want to jump to the page, you would use the left-hand side, which is just the link to the page itself.
Very nice.
But like I said, it tells you what to expect, what the type is. It's in a form, if it's in a grid, if it's in a job, if it's in an, it also looks for workflow. So it'll tell you if it's in a workflow, if it's in a token, wherever it finds it. It's going to tell you the type. It's going to tell you the name of that module or the name of that workflow or whatever. It's going to give you the parent field. So in case like in a form, it's going to tell you the field name that you'll find it in. So like if it's a button action, it'll tell you the button name. And then it'll tell you the ID of the action. So it'll tell you the index of it. So it's like action number 5. So you'll see it in the stack and whatnot. So it really gives you a lot of information to drill down and find specifically where it is. And this is, again, great if you change, let's say, one of your tokens and it needs an additional variable name, or you change a parameter name, anything like that. And you need to find all the locations where you've used it because you need to update it everywhere. This is a great way to find that. And then you can go one by one and, make your fixes. And again, that holds true for, any of these search items, but.
Yep. And, so overall, this is just kind of a larger application. How do you ensure quality in a low code app? Being able to find it and deal with it. So good stuff.
And I think this looks great. I'm really looking forward to using this. Thank you. Thank you.
You're welcome. It hopefully will be done completely shortly.
Do we install that into an existing site, or is that a separate site that we create and then it looks at the appropriate databases?
You'll see the code right there. You install it in the site that you want it in. So the steps right now, like I said, I have to make a couple of changes. I had to add another my token to get this to function properly, but you just follow these steps, installing it into whatever site you want, and it's doing a search on its local instance. So it's not something that's going to search other sites. It's every instance you have, you would have to install this on. It's just a mini app that installs in the site itself.
So we have a couple of tokens. We got to have a page, put in the action form module, an action grid module. Yeah, so just a few install steps and good to go. So it sounds to me like whether it's 15 minutes work, 30 minutes work, whatever, if you have a site that would benefit from a search, it's going to be easier than you looking for it, finding it. It'll be easier to implement this.
Yeah, this can easily, I just walked through this with Mark and he can attest to that. It takes literally like a minute or two to install. You just create a page and 2 modules and a token file to import, and that's it.
Cool. Let's see, we were talking about feature requests. If there's anyone that wants to talk about any others.
Had to find my mute button. Well, if no one else is going to say, the one right underneath Mark's, that one, that's only, I actually noticed that because of working right now with the code search. I noticed that if you're going to use the refresh JavaScript code for an action grid, it bypasses the loading animation. And depending on how much that grid is returning, it could look like you're hitting the search and it's not doing anything.
So this refresh should, what you're saying, the refresh should trigger the animation.
Well, yeah, if you set the grid to say, use the loading animation, I would like that JavaScript to still trigger it.
Yep. Good point. Okay. It sounds like, again, not terribly difficult. It's just working it into a priority. So thanks for submitting it.
Okay, so Ben, that one vote you've got so far, that came from me. And I'm saying that it should have already had a 1. You need to vote for your own thing, man.
I was in a rush, I forgot.
Well, maybe he doesn't think it's that good an idea. see a couple relating to CSS, so we'll take a look at those too. It's not that you have to vote for them. We will go through them and find things. And I should probably spend a little time and get this up to date, because I suspect we've delivered some of these things through our hot fixes as well. So making sure that we reflect what the product has, getting it into here. Cool. All right. So ghost stories is our attempt to stretch the campfire metaphor to talk about things that were difficult. Anybody have anything that they were doing in low code that that was hard to do and that you can save somebody else the headache by explaining what went wrong and how to go around it? Good, nobody has any problems. We're back to what Jerry said. Then I'm going to do last call, right? What else? I'd love to talk, but it doesn't, there's no rule that says it has to be an hour long.
Okay, so this seems like a trivial thing, but since we have a few minutes, I want to open a form in place, not as a pop-up. I want it to open on a button click, so it's not there, but a button click brings it forward, opens it up. I can do that. What I can't do is close it. I want to put a cancel button on that form, and when clicked, it just dissolves or puts away that form so you can't see it anymore. And there is a hide in form JavaScript script, but it doesn't do it. It doesn't put it away, it doesn't close it.
So just for illustration, this sounds very similar to your contributions slide a form, open a form by sliding. Is this?
Right, so I could use that technique. That actually leaves the form on the page and using resources on the page. It also, yeah. So I could do that, and that would be a good solution. I was just wondering about the built-in feature of hide form in place and how I can't get it to work. If anyone else has seen that before.
So I'm sorry, I'm struggling with the nuance. What?
Okay, I'm seeing if I can show you. Getting it ready.
Did you say that you already tried the DNNSF function for hide form inline?
That's the one. Yes, I've been trying that. It
Doesn't,
doesn't
work. Oh,
yeah,
really?
the
Okay.
button will do a little please wait thing, and then it goes back to its regular text, but nothing happens. The form doesn't go away.
Is it possible that it's have you tried that on a different form? I'm just wondering if it doesn't like if it was intended to target an alternate form and it's when it's itself, it doesn't work.
That's a good question. I have not tried doing it from a different form, and nor have I tried changing the theme on the page, which sometimes does make things work. So yeah, two things I can try. But honestly, I need it to work on the form itself because I want to put a cancel button. You know, it just kind of opens. It only has 2 fields, and if you don't need it, I want to be able to close it. So I can show it to you if you care to see it, but I think it's probably already been described.
If you're inclined, please do. I was wondering too on the other. Well, let's do one thing at a time.
Are you seeing a form mostly white?
Yes.
Okay, so over here on the left is the add folder form, 2 fields, a drop down and a text box. there's the cancel button, and you can see it just does the please wait and goes away. But it's not an appropriate test at the moment because I've got it set to be open when the page loads. So let's change that now. And if I wanted to come up either in text or in manual, let's go to manual, save, and back. Okay, so this button here for add folder should open the form. Let's get them both on the screen at one time. So it should appear right about here above the green button. I click. There it is. It's a little bit lower. So it just appeared. I want to close it out. That's not working. Let's see what is programmed in there so far. We go to manage form. And on the button, click for cancel. Execute JavaScript. Hide the form. And that is the one in question. Here we have the number. So it's the correct one.
So did you try the DNNSF.API.action form, the full syntax there? I'll paste it in. I haven't have it.
Yeah,
open,
paste
so-
it in. Yeah,
yeah.
I would like to try it. I can't remember. I've tried so many things. You know how that goes. Looks like I don't need quotes. And let's go up to save. Back. Let's ensure that it's not there. And it's not. And now it is. Cancel button. Hey, that worked.
Cool.
Ah, see, that's why I come to these meetings.
I love it that it's such a small little thing.
It's just syntax again. Okay, so cool. Thank you, Patrick, for figuring that out for me. I guess I would mention that syntax that I was using was directly out of the notes in the form settings. So I don't know if that needs to be changed. You could maybe add the full syntax there instead.
All right.
Definitely.
Cool.
Yeah.
Thank you.
Yeah, this technique that you put in here, this slide open, slide up, this could this is a separate form, right? I can't remember what the underlying thing is. Yeah, it's a form. So potentially this slide down could also make this become visible. So you could have your cancel button could be here as well, right? You could make your you could have it turn into a cancel button. I mean, I just love this technique. I love the visual of it. So cool. Point is, it would be on a separate form. But anyway, made it work. So problem solved.
Cool. Thank you, guys. I'm always cautious about bringing up little trivial things like this, but if we have the time, I'll do it.
Absolutely. Okay. So I'm going to do last call. Not in a rush, but we made it 55 minutes in.
Nobody's biting.
All right, here we go. So thank you for coming. It was a good meeting. I think we got a few things crossed off the list, and we'll look forward to doing it again next week. From the Loco Campfire, in a minute, we will adjourn to our non-recorded Afterglow segment. So stick around if you'd like. All right. Thanks, everyone.
Bye.